Click on the iPad. Hello.
Are we broadcasting? Looks like we're live.
Hello. All right, I think we finally got it. This would be much easier than typing because I am really slow at typing. All right, can everybody hear me okay? Yay. Sorry about that. Okay, this will be much easier.
Are we broadcasting?
I think we have it. All right.
Gotta love technology. Looks like we're live.
Hello. All right, I think we finally got it. This will be much easier than typing because I'm really slow.
Okay, so I can read questions.
Uh-oh.
You want to use this one, babe?
Click on your image. It's delayed.
Okay, well, you're using that one, not the other one, so stop looking at the other one. Good thing you don't have to type on the laptop.
All right, are we good to go? I want to make sure everybody can hear me and see me before we continue. Julie's got the iPad, so someone could please give a shout out and let us know you can see me, hear me okay. Yes, no, maybe.
I'm typing a question. Can you see and hear John?
Shows it's on there. Yes. Okay. I guess we're good.
Didn't come up in this one for some
All right.
reason.
So get back to. I want to start off with the sandwich lease options. Like I said, these are one of the first deals I ever did, and I really had no idea what I was doing. I think I read somebody's book. This is years ago, and it said find a motivated seller that's willing to lease their house with the option to purchase. And then you find a tenant buyer that wants to rent the house with the option to buy, of course, because they can't qualify for a mortgage today and need a little time to improve their credit as they're paying down a little bit on the house every month. So I think I typed in like one of my first deals. I think I gave the guy like $1,000 down and $800 a month. And then for my lease option tenant, I got like $5,000 down and $1,000 a month. So literally no money out of my pocket. You made $4,000 up front. And these deals were, that was really unbelievable at the time when we started doing this. I mean, these are great ways, no money down deals. Something different as opposed to wholesaling houses, which is great too. But the sandwich lease option is a great way to make money up front, cash flow every month. And then, of course, with your contract, you're going to be selling the house at the end price for higher to your tenant buyer than you have it under contract with your seller. Okay. So, and then everything is always negotiable as far as, well, one, the price. And one big thing is you obviously want to make a positive cash flow. So you've got to get your rent lower than what you're going to be selling it to your tenant buyer. So you can have some cash flow in the middle there as they're renting, okay?
So you're using two different contracts?
Right, and so when we have a contract with the seller, we actually what we do, now there's different ways people do it, but we have one contract. It's a lease with option to buy contract. That's what we use with the seller. On the other hand, when you're selling it with a lease option to the tenant buyer, we actually use two contracts. We use a lease and a separate option to purchase contract. That's just the way we learned to do it, and we've had our contracts tweaked over the years by our attorney. Again, checking your state for what regulations or requirements may be required in your state. But here in Michigan, they're legal. We did quite a few of them. And again, when we first got started, I was just so excited to get $5,000 from a person that we really didn't do it right. So we would pretty much let anybody with $5,000 we were letting them in, which was a mistake, because you want to make sure you want to qualify them. Now what we do is we have a lender we work closely with that will look at the application from our lease option tenant.
Well, look at the credit report.
Look at their credit report, see where they're at today based on their income, what kind of debt they have, and if we're going to do a 2-year contract, are they going to be able to qualify for a mortgage, in 2 years based on their income and their situation. Everybody's situation is different. So you want it to be a win-win. You don't want to give the house back to the seller. You want to make this a great transaction. So it's good for the seller. It's good for you putting the deal together, and it's a good deal for the tenant buyer. So everybody wins. So obviously things happen. We've had deals that fell through after somebody got in and they just didn't buy the property, and that happens. But you do want to qualify them to make sure if that they do have the ability, if they do what they're supposed to do, to qualify for that property down the road by getting improving their credit or put them in some kind of credit repair program. Very important, because you want these kind of deals to work. So we've done many deals like that when we first started, and lately we still do a lot of lease options on properties that we already own, like as opposed to doing rentals. We do a lot of rent to owns. It's a good feeling to help somebody be able to buy a property that needs a little help. And we've closed a few of them. I think even this year, we give people 2-3 years. Sometimes 2 years goes by and they can't qualify for a mortgage yet, but they've been great tenants. And a lot of times we'll extend that contract, reevaluate it based on the value of the property and stuff. But if you own the home, you're doing that with a tenant buyer, that's one thing. But if you're doing a sandwich lease option and you've only got so much time with your contract with the seller, then you really want to make sure that the deal is going to close within that time frame. Or you can always try to go back to the seller and renegotiate that. If you've been paying them on time every month and the house property is being taken care of. We love lease options. We love helping people out. It's been a great thing. And we started our business years ago, and it's a great way to make money with no money down on the sandwich lease options. Okay. But again, we like to do them too on our properties that we own, as opposed to doing a regular rental. For one thing, the lease option tenant agreement that we use, and we go over this with them thoroughly. They walk through the house and make sure they sign off that they approve the house in the condition it is. But they are responsible for all the maintenance on that home. So it's not like a regular rental where if the toilet breaks at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're calling you or your person that's going to come out, your maintenance guy, to come out and fix that property, because they're responsible for that. They're going to be buying the home, and they have to take responsibility for maintaining that property. So that's kind of one good thing about that too. But of course, if you're trying to hold properties long term, and then people qualify and they buy them, which has happened to us in the last year, I think we've sold
probably 3 or 4.
Probably 3 or 4 have come to term. So we want to, we still want to keep a certain amount of rentals, so we have to purchase more. So some of our properties are just rentals, some are rent-to-own properties, because we do enjoy, helping people out that would like to purchase a property and need that little bit of time to build their credit, come up with more of a down payment or whatever have you. But so we do that on the sandwich lease options. And then we do it, just lease options on our properties that we own, a lot too. So, if there's any questions, you can type something in here, and Julie can give those to me, help me out here,
I'm reading them, yeah.
before we go on.
There's no questions.
No questions right now? Okay. I also want to get into another way to do lease options, which is really something I'm looking into doing more of right now. This is really cool now. It's similar to wholesaling, okay, but you can find properties that have no equity and make money. So listen to this. This is so cool. Say you've got a owner that wants to get rid of a house. I'm just going to use some standard numbers here, and the house is only worth $100,000. Okay, and they owe $100,000, and so that's what they need to get for the property. However, if you find a lease option tenant that likes that property, would like to get into that property, you could sell it for $105,000, say. And what you do is you take the $5,000 option money, and you can, all of our contracts like this are assignable. So you just take your $5,000, assign the contract, because there's no room for monthly cash flow in it. There's no other profit in the deal. You're just going to hand it over, make your $5,000 for the assignment fee, and be done with the deal. So it's similar to doing a wholesale deal, okay? But these are houses with no equity, so you've got a whole nother market that people think, well, if there's no equity in the property, most investors are going, well, it just doesn't work. There's no equity. There's no way to make money. But I'm telling you, this is very cool, because there's a way to make money, because there's always a lease option tenant buyer out there that would like to get a house, and they're not going to get them, if they're going to pay $5,000 or $10,000 above what the value is today, that's okay, because they're not buying it today. They're going to take a year or 2 years, and at the same time, they're probably going to get a little bit of rent credit every month that's going to pay down what they actually owe. And then hopefully, depending on what the market's doing, the values will be going up at the same time, and that property will be worth a little bit more in 2 years, and it'll appraise out so they can get a mortgage on it. But again, when you're going to sign the contract, and you're done with it. So it's a quick, easy assignment. Instead of selling it to an investor, you're selling it to a retail buyer. And with properties that have no equity, it's a great way to make additional money. And there's not a lot of investors out there looking for properties that don't have any equity in them, right? So that's a pretty cool strategy, and it's a great option as opposed to just doing the regular wholesale thing. So it's really gives everybody, especially if you're not working with a lot of funds right now, these kind of deals are no money down. It's very easy to do. Like I said, when I first started off doing them, I was so excited to get $5,000 down. I gave the guy $1,000, so I was sandwich lease options. I mean, it's really a win-win situation there, in a great way, to make additional income, no matter what strategies you're currently using. Because we do a lot of different things here. Obviously, we do rentals, we do fix and flips, we do the lease options. Sometimes we'll get them on our land contract and sell them on lease options. It's similar. And then we also are doing now a lot of starting to do more turnkey properties. Strictly, that's for an investor who wants a property that's already renovated, tenant occupied, under property management, total hands off. All they have to do is purchase the property and get a good return on their money, with monthly rent income. So there's a lot of different strategies out there, but I've always loved the lease option. It's dear to me because we started off doing it that way with no money. It was just awesome. Okay.
So there is a question. How do you disclose your intentions that you're going to sublease the house to the seller?
Okay. Yep. That's a great question. And you don't tell them that up front. Yeah. First, you're going to talk to them, listen to what their situation is, what their motivation is, why they're selling the house. And you're going to always disclose what you're doing, but not right up front. First, you want to get their motivation and try to work out the details with them. And then you're going to let them know what you do exactly. You explain to them, and you've done it many times, or you've got a great process in place of how the program works. And one thing I always like to tell people too, a couple of things is if they're thinking about listing their house with a realtor, no offense to realtors, we use them all the time. But if it's a property that they've already moved out of and they're paying, they have monthly payments on it, is a realtor going to make your monthly payments on that property for you while they're trying to sell it? No, what you're going to do is you're going to make their payments for them with a tenant in place while you get the house sold over a period of time.
And they know that you're still ultimately taking the responsibility.
Right. You're going to be responsible and make sure things happen, because on the sandwich lease option, the contract you have with the seller is with you. You have a separate contract with your tenant buyer, so neither parties should even know each other. You're in the middle handling this deal. You're working with the seller, and then you're working with the tenant buyer. And again, that's why you want to make sure it's a win-win-win situation where you're going to qualify that tenant buyer. Make sure you qualify them. Don't just let anybody in the house with $5 or $10 grand. You do need to qualify them to make sure that the deal is going to work good. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
No. So we'll just go over a couple things real quick. Then the sandwich lease options. Those are the ones that you find a motivated seller. And if you're going to be looking at ads to try to find a seller that will do a lease option, you're not looking at the for sale section. Just forget that. Only look for the ones that are for rent. And this is a good thing too, because if you're calling on a for rent ad, maybe it's another investor. So if they're not interested in a lease option, and it is an investor, well, maybe he's looking for properties. Maybe you can wholesale him the property down the road. So it's always keep his information if he's looking to buy more properties. But normally you definitely want to look for properties that are for rent or for lease, because that's you're halfway there on a lease option, because
they may be making property tax payments and feel stressed out and tired of renting the property but not prepared to sell it. So that's when you might find a motivated seller who's going to want to talk about possibly a lease option, because it might be their best solution rather than continuing to try to rent when they really don't want to deal with it anymore.
What you're doing is you're providing a solution for them. You're helping them get rid of a problem property where you can give them a monthly income on that property until it's sold, and taking care of the maintenance on that property, because your tenant buyer is basically going to be responsible to maintain that property until they purchase it. So the seller on the sandwich lease option doesn't have to take care of the maintenance on the property, doesn't have to make the payments, because you're going to be making the payments for them. Okay. So it really can be a win-win situation. It's not for all sellers, but there's a lot of sellers out there that will do it, especially if you go to people. Of course, you always know that if it's a home that's vacant, someone's making a mortgage payment on that, they've moved out. In fact, I got a deal I'm going to be working on right now, I can tell you. In the area we buy a lot of houses in, I went and met with a gentleman last week from our we buy houses signs and from our bandit signs. Okay, so those do work too. And he's had the property on the market for a while and it wasn't selling. And you get into a conversation with them, and you always open your ears and you let them talk, because a lot of the questions you may have, they're going to answer for you without you even having to ask the question. Okay, this guy, they're older couple, retired, owes nothing on the house, and they just bought a new condo. And now they've got another house they have to take care of and pay taxes and maintenance on. And he looked at me, he's got a couple large trees in the yard, and here in Michigan, it's fall. All these leaves are going to be falling down and create a lot more maintenance for him to clean that yard up. And, I haven't talked to him in a few days. I told him I would get back to him, and he actually called me back and wants to know if we're going to work out a deal. And I'm going to go back to him. I'm going to present a couple different deals to him, hoping for a lease option or a land contract, because we would probably, in this situation, we would hold the property ourselves. I'll give him a very low cash offer, or I'll give him the option to do a land contract or a lease option at closer to what he wants for the property. But again, always negotiating. If it's a lease option, you want what you call a rent credit. If you say I'm going to pay him $800 a month, you could say I want $200 a month rent credit, which is, additional
Principal.
equity or principal you'll be getting on that property, or you can try for the full amount. $800, I want full credit. It's basically a 0% interest loan, basically. If you can get that property, and it makes sense if you can give him closer to what he's asking for it now, because if you're not paying any interest on that, you can pay a higher sale price, because if you figure it out over time, the no interest is huge. If you look at it compared to, say, I'm going to buy a house for $50,000 and make $800 payments, but it's 100% principal, where you're going to pay the same amount for that house at the 5% interest rate over time. You can, get on the amortization schedule and look at the difference. It's huge, especially over 10 or so many years. But that makes a big difference in negotiating the option credit that they want to give you, that you want to get every month for an on-time payment. So that's can be a big thing in negotiating a deal, is what kind of terms. I had a gentleman, some properties, we buy lakefront properties up north. And this guy was just set in his head. He wanted $100,000 for that property. He wasn't going any lower. It didn't matter. And I just told him, there's no way, I can give you $100,000 for the house, unless you could, take payments with no interest. And he agreed, and then it made a lot more sense to buy that property at that price, because it was interest free. I mean, if you look at the numbers over time, the interest free is huge. You can give them a lot more money for the property and the sale price, as long as the terms are there, and it would make sense. So you have to figure out all the different terms, and it can be such a big difference what you actually pay for that property, as long as you can get positive cash flow based on the terms you're doing. So, is there any other questions? Well, sorry for the delays we had in getting started here tonight. Seems like I always get the issues when I'm doing these things. I don't know what it is, but
couldn't be us.
But it's
So the sandwich lease options are excellent because you don't need any money down. People say you can't make money unless you have money. Well, with the sandwich lease option, you can. Same thing with getting a house on terms like that. If you're going to, a lot of times, they might want a little bit down, but if you can get good terms on a purchase, if you can negotiate seller financing, owner financing, then you're making money without money out of your pocket. So it's just another option. And then if you are doing the lease options on homes that you own, you're going to end up with a little bit more at the end, because as you're holding that property, if you have a mortgage on it, you're paying down, so you'll owe less. Or if you own it, free and clear, property values are going up. So again, you're going to make more on the ones that you own, but the sandwich lease options are a great way to make some money without any money out of your pocket.
right. And again, the wholesale type, what I call the wholesale lease options, where you're selling it to an end buyer and just signing your contract for the $5,000 and you're done with the deal. Again, even in those deals, you still want to qualify the tenant buyer to make sure it's going to be a good deal, and they have the opportunity to purchase that house at the end. Even though you'll be out of the deal, you don't want to just hand that house off to anybody for $5,000 or $10,000, and just because you're getting the money. When you're doing a deal like this, you do want to pre-qualify them to make sure that they could qualify based on their situation. If they follow through on what they need to do over the next year or two for that contract.
Yeah, that keeps your integrity you know, that you feel better because you know, you have your integrity in that deal too. Again, the first couple that we got so excited, somebody gave us 10 grand and it's like, we didn't care. I don't even know.
I mean, I even closed one of my first lease option deals that they rented it for about a year and they actually bought it. I actually got a check at the end too when I first started. And I mean, that's crazy. It was so much fun. It was like almost unbelievable to me. It got me real excited in real estate.
But then the deals that didn't go so good when we weren't particular enough about who we were putting in the houses. Again, I don't want to keep somebody's money if they can't buy the house. And a lot of times people think that they're going to change, you know, their bad habits, and they're not. So a lot of times you can tell by the history of the credit report if it's, you know, if it's been a history from the beginning of time, or if they had a job loss or an illness or a divorce, or, you know, there's lots of circumstances where, you know, bad things happen to good people, and those are the kind of people that you want to deal with. You know, the people that really do want to try to get a fresh start, not the kind of people that are chronic. Because then, you know, again, I feel bad. I don't want to keep somebody's money, and I don't want to start all over either. So it's important to qualify your tenant buyers.
Good deal.
And that's it. I don't see any more.
All right, well, I hope you guys got something out of this, but the lease options is, I mean, that's a great thing. It excites me because I've been, in the first couple of deals I've done with those, and I'll use them today. It's a very, very good option for no money down deals, and puts money in your pocket right away, monthly, and at the end. It's really a great strategy, and you guys should give it a try.
Win, win, win.
Win, win, win. All right. Well, good night, everybody. Hope you got something out of this, and appreciate you watching. Sorry for the technical difficulties we had, but
we figured it out. So
right.
See you next time.
Peace out.